from the perspective of economic growth, the shift away from reliance on income tax and more toward a consumption tax makes sense. But lawmakers put themselves in a position of running into trouble when they have to decide what types of consumption ought to be taxed. Should you tax food? Should you tax clothing? Should you tax school supplies or entertainment or luxury goods? The key point that I hope to make with this is that rather than focusing a consumption tax on what is consumed and putting the General Assembly in the position of having to pick and choose which things to tax that are consumption, North Carolinians would be better off with a tax system that focuses on whether a person decides to consume or, in the alternative, to save or invest. So not what, but whether, which means putting the taxation at an earlier stage in the decision-making process. You've decided to spend, you're going to be taxed rather than, well, you're going to spend on this, no tax, you're going to spend on that, you will have a tax. So what about a system, an ideal consumption tax that would work like this? If a person decides to spend $1, that dollar is going to be taxed, whether it's for a theater ticket, bowling outing, buying a pair of shoes, getting a jar of peanut butter, or applying it to a new car or a new house. You might hear the response, oh, wait a minute. Folks who are poor, they consume more of their money. They're going to have to spend more of their income on things like the peanut butter or on their rent. Isn't this just a way to shift the tax system so that the wealthy benefit the people who don't really need the help? Well, if you have that concern, one thing that would address that is to have a universal exemption that ensures that people are not taxed on the amount of income necessary to cover the basic necessities. And in fact, in the tax reform legislation that was passed, doesn't get a whole lot of publicity, but the amount of money in income that's lopped off right off the top before any tax is imposed was increased. And that's a debate you can have. What do you decide is the amount of money that covers basic necessities? Make that the exemption. Any consumption beyond that is taxed.